Hello, so in this video we are going to be writing functions, and up till now we have been writing most of our code inside of main, but what we are going to do now is we are going to write something out of main as well. And let's say I want to do something like this. Instead of a printf, now I want a print hello, and I actually want this to print just hello. So the way I can do that is to write a function which is print hello. Let me just write it here. So I need to write print hello here, and I need to follow it with parentheses, and we'll see what goes into the parentheses later, but for now I'm just going to keep it empty. And then again, just like we have our if or for or whatever, we give braces here, and inside these braces I write whatever I want this function to do. So here I'm going to write a printf, and I'm just going to write a hello here. Let's give a \n. And another thing that we must do is, because compilation is done line by line, and this is after the main, we need to tell the program that don't worry, you'll find a print hello function somewhere. So I need to write print hello here, and again a parenthesis and just a semicolon. So this thing just tells the program that there exists a function called print hello. It's like saying int n and then using n somewhere. So it's like a declaration, and not actually like one. It is called a function declaration or a function prototype. And this part right here is the actual function, and whatever comes within these braces is known as the function definition. So I use these terms pretty often, declaration and definition. And when I say definition, I actually mean this part right here, and not this. And just like we had the type for variables, just like I had an int n, meaning that n is an integer. For functions as well, we need to give a return type. What a return type basically means is it means what kind of data it's going to return back when it's called. So in this case, because I don't want to return anything, let me just write void here, and here as well let me just write a void. Void is actually a built-in data type, just like int or something. And if you actually pay attention to this, main actually resembles a function with a return type of integer. So that's actually true. Main is a function, but main is a special kind of function which the compiler knows about. So let's just first run this, and you'll understand this better in a while. So I need to do gcc functions.c-o functions.exe, and now let me just run this, and as you can see, it printed hello here. So this actually works perfectly fine. Once again, let me just repeat everything that I've done here. This void here tells the return type of print hello, and you'll understand return types better in a while, but a void means that print hello is not going to return anything. Print hello is the name of my function, and these parentheses here are something that appears after every function, and this is known as the function declaration. This is the function definition, where I just have one line which is printf, and this is known as a function call. So this is where I'm actually calling the function. So that's what's going on here. So now let's create a function which actually adds two numbers, and when it adds two numbers, I don't want the function itself to print the output. I just want the sum of those two numbers, and I'll see what I want to do with it in main itself. So this time I think it makes sense to you that the return type should be an int, and let me just name it add. And this time again we need to give it two numbers to add, so we actually need to mention that I'm going to get two integers within these parentheses. So let me just name them int n1 and int n2. And here as well, let's just get rid of this print hello. This is where I need my function call, so I'll just write add, and I'll say 1 and 2. And because this actually returns an int, let me just create an int sum, and I'll assign whatever result this add gives me to sum. So this is my function call right here, and let's just go ahead and write the definition. Int n1, int n2. Let's just say int n3 equals n1 plus n2, and now we need to actually return this n3. So we need to write the word return and n3. This actually returns this sum back to here, and let's just print this sum out. So %d \n, and I need sum here, so let's just try running this. Alright, I wrote an n1 here, that should be an n2. So it has actually printed out 3. We've actually written an add function, and we can actually just change these to floats if we want. If we want to make an add function which adds floats instead of ints. And let's just try doing something like this. Let's just call these x and y, and let's just run it now. And as you can see, it actually compiled fine and it actually runs fine too. But here I'm taking an x, and here I said I'll take an n1. So what's going on here? The reason is that in a function declaration, I don't even need to give these names here. I can just write int. That's good enough. Let's compile it now. Again, it compiles alright, and it gives me the answer. So all it needs is the data type and the number of arguments that I'm going to get. So these things right here are called arguments. They're also called parameters. So if you hear the word argument or parameter, it just means what's being passed to a function. And this right here is known as the return type of a function, and this is the name of a function. So let's also actually try doing something like this. Let's do an int a equals 1 comma b equals 2. This is perfectly valid. I am allowed to do this, and let's just add a and b here. And let's actually clear this first and compile this and run this now. Again, I've got a 3 as a result. Now what's going on here is this a and b are what I'm adding, but you might say that I'm passing an a here and I'm receiving it in an x. So how does that work? It's basically just that the main function knows that there's a variable a, but the rest of the functions don't know there's a variable a at all, and when you pass an a, it is the function's choice what variable name to receive this value in. So you might pass an a, you might pass a k here, but for this function it doesn't matter because it receives the first argument in a variable called x and the second argument in a variable called y, and it creates its own n3 and just returns that n3. So if I actually try doing something like n3 here, this isn't going to work. So this gives me an error which says n3 undeclared. The reason for that is because this function is the one that created the variable n3. So that function is the only one that knows about something like n3. So the general rule to remember is a variable is only known inside of these braces. So as soon as I go out of these braces, a variable is unknown. So that's known as the scope of a variable. So if I actually let's just get rid of this and let's just try doing something like this. If sum equals 3, I'll create another variable. Let's say I create a char c equals a, and let's try printing that character here, %c and c here. So I have actually made a character here, so this should be fine. But when I go here, let me just clear this once and let me execute it now. So alright, I accidentally used 3 equal to's there. So as you can see, it says C undeclared, and this actually is consistent with what I said earlier. A variable is only known inside of braces. So when I created this variable inside these braces, it's actually just known inside of these braces and not outside them. So to actually fix this, I can do something like this. I just need to make a char c here. So now char c is known, and I'm actually allowed to change c inside of an if, and this will work fine. Let's just try it out. As you can see, it printed out a. So the same rule works for functions as well. Variables that you create inside a function are only known inside that function, and main is also a function, but it's just that it's a special function, and printf is also actually a function. So I think this video has gone on for quite some time. We'll talk more about functions in the next video.